First, I wanted to ask you a little bit about how you thought the use of technology and media in the 2012 campaign was different from 2008.
Well, I mean, there's been a dramatic uh, evolution of particularly social media since the 2008 campaign. I mean, Twitter was in its infancy when 2008 began, and obviously it became an integral part of the campaign. How Facebook got used was far more sophisticated in 2012. Our ability to transmit media was much greater in 2012. So, the video production we did was much more voluminous. We were sending out videos almost every night. We were able to, the way we used digital advertising was much more sophisticated in 2012 than it was in 2008. So, the real challenge in the 21st century from election to election is to really understand the changes that are occurring on an almost a daily basis in communications, and to get out in front of it and make the greatest use you can of it. And I think we were ahead of the curve in 2008. I think we were ahead of the curve in 2012, and the campaigns that are going to succeed in 2016 and beyond are going to have to continually upgrade themselves and be aware of the emerging trends in communications.
Do you think that there was something that your campaign was doing in terms of technology and media that was ahead of what the Romney campaign was doing?
Well, I think that it is somewhat hard for me to answer because I can't tell you fully what the Romney campaign was doing, but I know we had a very well-conceived strategy for how to use social media. I know that we had a very sophisticated strategy for how to deploy mass media and advertising on broadcast and cable, and how to buy time on broadcast and cable so that we were targeting our voters much more precisely and saving a lot of money doing it. So I think we had a much more efficient television buy because of the technology that was available to us. And we also knew who our voters were, and we knew a lot about them because of all the information that was available through various means. Technology was central to our ability to do as well as we did.
Mm-hmm. Great. So I guess on a slightly different note, how did you and the campaign react to the first debate, and how did you go about sort of changing the strategy or reducing the potential damage?
Well, I was always concerned about the first debate because the first debate for incumbent presidents running for re-election have traditionally been kind of a quagmire. President Reagan did poorly in his first debate. George H.W. Bush did poorly in his first debate. George W. Bush did poorly in his first debate. There is a traditional kind of barrier for presidents who haven't debated for 4 years, who haven't had people in their grill the way debate opponents were. Back in 2008, we had, I think, 28 debates with our primary opponents, many of them at the end with Hillary Clinton, who was a world-class debate partner. This time, the president hadn't debated in 4 years. Mitt Romney had I think something like 20 debates before he came in. So, there are a lot of reasons to have worried about that debate, and we talked about it and we thought it through, but nonetheless, we fell prey to the same problems. Once it happened, we clearly had an impetus to do better in the next debate. I was candid with the president. I feel like he showed up for a discussion. Mitt Romney showed up for a performance. Debates largely are that, and you need to have, you need to know exactly what you want to say, and you need to find the opportunities to say it. And the president approached the second and third debates much differently, prepared differently, and went in with a very clear sense of how he was going to handle every question and every opportunity that arose.
Great. So what do you think were the other most significant moments of the campaign, or things that maybe forced the campaign or incentivized the campaign to change its strategy?
Well, our strategy, you always have to make adjustments along the way, and obviously the debate was the big one for us. You don't know, for example, who their vice presidential nominee is going to be. That occasioned some changes in strategy when he appointed Paul Ryan. That offered a bunch of opportunities for us around issues like Medicare, around issues like women's health. So we took advantage of those opportunities. At the end of the campaign, one of the significant events was the decision of the Romney campaign to air a commercial in Ohio that insinuated that or implied that Jeep was going to move its production to China, and to essentially blame the president for that, to try and take the edge off of the advantage he had for having intervened to save the American auto industry, which in Ohio is a lifeblood of the economy. 1 in 8 jobs are connected with it. And we hit that pretty hard, and I think that backfired on them dramatically. I think we would have carried Ohio anyway, but it made it exponentially more difficult for them. So a lot of these campaigns is, there are things you can plan on. You can plan on your conventions. You can plan on the debates. There are certain set pieces, and then a lot of it is reacting to events and trying to do it within the context of your strategy. I think we did, by and large, a good job of that.
Great. So how do you respond to those that claim that Obama's 2012 campaign was different in its message, that 2008 was about hope and change, and 2012 was about these?
I'll tell you something. I traveled around the country with the president, particularly in the last few weeks, and I was struck by how reminiscent it was of the last campaign, both in terms of the themes he was striking and the way people were reacting. The one thing about the president that I appreciate, and I've known him for 20 years, is he's very consistent in his values, consistent in his vision. He talked all through 2008 about the need to create an economy in which the middle class can thrive and people who aspire to be in the middle class can get ahead. And there were specific issues associated with that. Healthcare was one of them, education another, and how you create an economy that's kicking off good middle class jobs. This was still central to our campaign in 2012, and obviously we've been through a lot as a country, and that colored that debate. But the fundamental values and vision were the same. And at the end of the day, I saw a great deal of idealism out there. Every election's about hope, and every election's about change. And the question is what kind of change we were going to have, and what kind of change would bring offer the greatest hope. So I feel like there was a real continuum between 2008 and 2012. I didn't see it as a stark departure.
Mm-hmm. And then looking at 2016, do you expect the battleground states to remain the same, or which ones do you think will not be battleground states? Do you think there'll be new battleground states?
It's interesting. I mean, I do think that by and large the battleground states will remain the battleground states. Some of the states that are battleground states have become such because of demographic changes that are only going to increase over time. States like Colorado and Nevada, Florida. So I think that by and large those states will be competitive, and most of the other battleground states will be competitive because of changes in demographics. This will be influenced, of course, by the candidates and who runs, and there may be qualities about one or another candidate that make it harder to compete in one or more of these battleground states, and we just have to wait and see. But what really makes battleground states, by and large, are the demographics. Now, I mentioned earlier Ohio. We'll see how competitive Ohio is in 2016. It was competitive for us because of the steps the president took to save the American auto industry, and because Governor Romney opposed that auto bailout, and because Governor Romney's profile at Bain Capital was a particularly concerning one for people in these aging industrial states. But I expect that Ohio will be competitive as well. So by and large, I think you're looking at the same set of states.
Great. And then on 2016 again, do you plan to be involved in the 2016 campaign?
You know what? I've run my last presidential race. My next project is to start an institute of politics like the one here at Harvard, at the University of Chicago, because I think you can't have enough of these. And what this country needs more than anything are bright, committed young people to go into the public arena, not just as candidates, but as strategists, as policy people, into the media to cover the public debate, into not-for-profits to help drive public policy. And if I can help contribute that way by encouraging young people to get into that arena, that will be a great coda on my career.